Welcome to Behind the Schemes, a discussion of how commerce, corruption, and counterfeit cures are destroying our planet's precious wildlife. This is Rhishja Cota-Larson with Behind the Schemes, and in this episode, we're getting up close and personal with Sumatran rhinos. History is in the making at the Sumatran Rhino Sanctuary in Indonesia, where Ratu is in the home stretch of her pregnancy. Bill Konstant, Program Officer of the International Rhino Foundation, recently returned from the Sumatran Rhino Sanctuary and shared the latest news with us. So the big question on everybody's mind right now is, how is Ratu doing?
I had the opportunity to meet Ratu for the first time several weeks ago at the Sumatran Rhino Sanctuary, and I can tell you that she's looking great. And based upon some recent ultrasound exams that were conducted by her veterinarian, Dr. Didi Kandra, Ratu's baby is also doing very well.
Oh, that's fantastic.
You can see that its heartbeat is very strong, and she's now entering the 14th month of an anticipated 16-month pregnancy, and all indicators are positive.
Good.
A special shelter has been constructed for her and the baby. Both will be under round-the-clock surveillance via closed-circuit cameras, but they'll still have access daily to a small tract of rainforest where Ratu will be able to browse natural vegetation. Now, Dr. Terry Roth, who's the director of Cincinnati Zoo, the Cincinnati Zoo Center for Conservation and Research of Endangered Wildlife, recently spent several days at the sanctuary and reviewed all the prenatal and postnatal procedures with the sanctuary staff. But together, they watched video footage of the 3 Sumatran rhino births that have taken place at Cincinnati, which gives the staff a good idea of what to expect.
Oh, cool.
And also, in order to make sure that mother and baby receive the best possible care, IRF is arranging for rhino specialists from the U.S. and Australia to spend time at the sanctuary, both before and after the birth, and thus providing the staff with the benefit of many years of experience with rhino husbandry, veterinary care, and captive breeding.
So what was it like to be there and to actually be part of the team monitoring the pregnancy of a Sumatran rhino?
Well, fortunately, I was a bystander who had camera in hand and didn't have any real responsibility, just trying to take a few photos. But for Ratu, it's a pretty standard procedure. She comes in and is put in a squeeze cage. She doesn't mind that because she's being fed the entire time, so she's getting some of her favorite foods, and so she'll tolerate it. And this ultrasound was an external one with sort of the wand being waved along her abdomen, so there was no need to, for it to be inserted inside her, so it was probably a lot less of an ordeal for her. And typically, the animals that undergo that or any procedure after it's done, they're glad to get out of the enclosure, and they sort of bolt out, and they might swipe their horn at the keeper to show that they weren't entirely pleased with it, but then they head right back out into the forest. Which is kind of neat that they have that opportunity. They can run away and play, do whatever they're going to do. And everybody else then sort of moves out from the pen. We weren't in the forest itself, and you're not allowed to be in there with the animals. And as we're walking away, I see Ratu run towards the forest, and I don't know why I thought to call her name. I just yelled out, "Ratu," and I started making grunting sounds like and I don't know what that means in Sumatran Rhino language, but whatever it meant or whatever, it stopped her, and she turned and came right toward me, up to the perimeter fence, and she looked right at me, posed. I started to take some photos because it was really nice with her. You thought you were out in the middle of the jungle, if you will, with the rhino, with the backdrop of that. And then as I'm walking along, without benefit of making any further sounds, she's following me along the fence and very interested in what I was doing. So I took every opportunity to snap a few photos, and then she started posing. I mean, she really did.
Oh, my gosh.
peek out from behind a tree, making little, girlish rhino faces at me.
Oh,
And
how cute!
It was kind of fun. And well, then the joke of the day was that I had a new girlfriend. Ratu is my new girlfriend, and I was the rhino whisperer.
Oh my gosh!
But I really wish it made me really want to. I wish I could have just thrown the camera off and jumped the fence and run around in the forest with the rhino, who seemed to enjoy my company. I don't know.
Oh, how fun! Oh my gosh, that's great.
It was a lot of fun.
What will this birth mean for the future of Sumatran rhinos?
That's a good question. This is going to be a very symbolic birth in the history of the species. We are preparing for any eventuality since we are dealing with living creatures. But if all continues to go well and Ratu delivers a healthy calf, we'll have a great deal to celebrate.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I believe this is the first birth for Sumatran rhinos at a captive facility in Indonesia. And also, it's the result of an international partnership that required Andalas, the young male that was born at the Cincinnati Zoo, to be sent to Indonesia to jumpstart a captive breeding effort that appeared hopelessly stalled. And this breathes new life into the program in a very big way.
Cool.
Now, confirming that Andalas can successfully impregnate a female also raises the possibility of him mating with the other two females in residence, Rosa and Bina. And because we've collected sperm from Andalas and frozen it, artificial insemination will become a possibility if he's unable to seal the deal, if you will, with the other girl. Now, we've also just learned from the Borneo Rhino Alliance that sperm from Tam, the male Sumatran rhino that was captured in Sabah, Malaysia, will be made available for artificial insemination attempts with Susi, Andalas' sister. She's currently in residence at the Los Angeles Zoo. Now, that will introduce totally unrelated genetic material to the captive population, and it comes as a result of a genetic analysis that recommends treating the Sumatran rhinos on Borneo and Sumatra as a single breeding population, even though they represent two different subspecies.
Mm-hmm. Great.
So in combination, all these developments could make the future for the Sumatran rhino significantly brighter. Excellent. Your viewers and listeners might want to check out my blog, Rhinos Under the Radar, on the IRF website, as I plan to touch upon a number of Sumatran rhino conservation scenarios that could evolve from the upcoming birth.
Oh, it's an excellent blog. I read your installment that you have on there right now, and I am definitely looking forward to keeping up to date on that. And you mentioned that Andalas has been introduced to Rosa and Bina. How is that going?
Well, as we speak, Andalas is being introduced slowly but surely to both Rosa and Bina. And again, based upon my recent visit, I can report that things are going well. I was able to snap a few photos of his recent interactions with Rosa, in fact, which you can share with the viewers. It should be noted that staff at the sanctuary is being very careful to limit physical contact at this point by separating the pair with a steel fence, but that will be removed when they're confident that Andalas and Rosa have become used to one another. From what I was able to observe, they're getting along quite well. I'm not certain at what stage Andalas is with Bina, but a natural mating between the two is still considered a possibility.
Oh, that's very exciting. Fingers crossed. And can you give us an update on what's going on with the Javan rhinos?
Sure. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to visit Ujung Kulon National Park last month during the trip to Indonesia. But the Javan Rhino Study and Conservation Area was discussed in detail at a meeting of the Asian Rhino Specialist Group in Jakarta. We viewed video that was taken by camera traps strategically placed in the park, and the results were very, very impressive.
Oh, good.
The current estimates are that there are somewhere between 35 and 44 Javan rhinos remaining in Ujung Kulon. Mm-hmm. But the lower figure, in fact, may soon be verified by independent analysis of the which appear to feature 35 individual animals, including 4 females, perhaps 5 females with calves.
Oh, fantastic.
And as I recall, there was also at least one adult pair captured on film, which also bodes well for breeding within that very small population.
Oh, good. More baby rhinos, please.
Yes. Yeah. And it's important to note that the camera trap study actually sampled only a small percentage of the park's area because the cameras were located at spots that were selected based upon what biologists considered to be the best available Javan rhino habitat.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a chance that the unsampled areas may still hold undetected rhinos.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to increase the number of camera traps and expand the study area.
Great.
Now, there's also reports from the rhino protection units there that indicate Javan rhinos are beginning to move into the study and conservation area where the invasive palms have been removed and rhino food plant species have been planted. So I'm hoping that we'll have some good news to share about the Javan rhinos in the months ahead.
Oh, me too. You mentioned rhino protection units. Can you tell us about the rhino protection units?
Sure. I think your viewers, listeners know that these are 4-member teams who patrol and survey national parks in which the rhinos are found. And for me, meeting the men who serve in these units, that was the highlight of my trip to Indonesia.
Mm-hmm.
Rhinos aside, that was the highlight.
Wow.
Just like many folks who support IRF, I'd read about the work done by the RPUs, but I didn't get a true sense of their dedication and their pride until I met these men face to face and heard them talk about what they do. Most of them live many, many miles from the areas that they patrol, so they have to leave their families for days and weeks on end and spend it in the field, totally vulnerable to the elements.
So they're not just getting up and going to work and coming home.
No, it's not a daily commute.
Wow.
It's not a daily commute. It's long periods away from home.
Amazing.
And they are a very rugged group by anyone's measure. I certainly wouldn't want to be in the shoes of any poacher that they happen to catch. At the same time, they're fantastic at public relations, and they work closely with the local people, who are just trying to survive in a landscape that's shrinking and where humans and wildlife have to exist at close quarters. So the members of the RPU teams have to be diplomats in addition to being the law enforcers, and they seem to handle that task very well.
Great.
IRF supports RPUs in 3 Indonesian parks, national parks, Bukit Barisan Selatan, Waikambas, and Ujung Kulon. In the first 2 parks, there hasn't been an incident of Sumatran rhino poaching in the last 7 years, and in Ujung Kulon, it's been 17 years since a Javan rhino has been killed for its horn.
17. Oh my gosh, that is absolutely amazing. Love it.
Animals obviously die for natural causes and are found dead, but there's not been any evidence that their horns have been removed for poaching. So when you consider what's going on in Africa right now, in southern Africa, in terms of the number of animals being poached, which is more than 1 a day on average, the accomplishment of the Indonesian RPU units is actually very, very impressive.
Oh, it's incredible. Fantastic. That is wonderful news. And what do you think makes the RPUs so successful at what they do?
I think the reason that they're so successful is that they work according to a very thorough and a very strategic system. Their routine includes gathering intelligence that helps them anticipate and intercept people who might be engaged in illegal activities, which in addition to trapping of rhinos and tigers and other threatened animals, also includes such things as logging, fishing, gathering of different forest products.
Oh, wow. And by logging, would that be even... This wouldn't be just the individual opportunistic person poking around in the forest logging. You're talking maybe going up against something pretty formidable there, right?
Well, I think it's more, I think it is actually more the individual, the small,
it is? Okay.
small scale. But, it's usually on the perimeters of the park, and it's get in and get out pretty quick.
Ah, okay.
But in the course of patrolling the protected areas, the RPUs also conduct surveys for rhinos and other species. They collect evidence, both direct and indirect, of their presence. They're excellent trackers who interpret the animal signs better than anybody I've ever met.
Wow.
And I think, again, they're successful because they're multi-talented. They're the police, they're scientists, and they're ambassadors for wildlife, and all that rolled up into one.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. And what can people do to help International Rhino Foundation protect this critically endangered species, these Sumatran rhinos?
Well, people anywhere and everywhere can help IRF protect critically endangered rhinos like the Sumatran rhino by supporting programs like the Sumatran Rhino Sanctuary or the RPUs who safeguard the remaining wild populations. It does cost a good deal to keep these programs running, and we're always vulnerable to reductions in funding, just like many other nonprofit organizations. So if your viewers and listeners are concerned about rhinos and are interested in helping, I'd encourage them to visit our website, www.rhinos-irf.org, and consider making a donation.
Okay.
The unrestricted contributions are also very important because they allow us to be flexible and adjust to circumstances as they unfold. I think, as most folks are aware, rhinos both in Africa and Asia are facing some pretty serious threats right now.
Yeah.
And we may need to use every tool in our conservation tool chest to have any chance of saving them.
Oh, yeah, we certainly do. Well, thanks so much, Bill, for taking time to talk with us again. It was a great pleasure to speak with you.
Well, it's my pleasure, and we really do appreciate the opportunity to get the word out.
Oh, you're quite welcome. You've been listening to Up Close and Personal with Sumatran Rhinos with Bill Konstant from the International Rhino Foundation. This is Rhishja Cota-Larson with Behind the Schemes.